Hello and welcome again to Backpage. I'm Jody C. and today we're visiting with Brenda Stevens and James Dubberly about a book that they put together, and it's called The Real Skinny. This is about Brenda's process and James' expertise. There we go. So welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So give me some backstory on this. You were telling me that you broke a bone in your foot?
Oh, I broke my ankle.
Broke your ankle, okay. And then what happened?
Well, then I tried to be on crutches, but I was really, really heavy then, and I really struggled with the crutches. I actually ended up in the emergency room because I wasn't strong enough to be on crutches. So I was in a wheelchair then, and I was
So
in a
your shoulders couldn't handle the
couldn't,
weight of it?
I just wasn't, I don't know, I couldn't use my arms to hoist around that much weight, and I didn't have a lot of muscle at that time. I'd been sitting around reading books, you know, eating fast food most of my life. So I was really heavy and really weak, and I just could not handle the crutches. So I'm in a wheelchair for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it doesn't take that long for your ankle to heal up. And I kept going back to my doctor, and I finally said, when am I going to get out of this wheelchair? And he went, well, I thought, oh no. And I'm putting on more and more weight because you're sitting all day in a wheelchair, you know. So, and I was complaining about other things. My blood pressure kept going up. I was so stiff and sore in the morning that I couldn't really get out of bed. I had to kind of wiggle around and, you know, just to get up. Before I'd been in the wheelchair, I couldn't get out of a restaurant booth or a car or a chair by myself. My husband would have to hoist me out, which is really embarrassing. Going upstairs, I had to keep a cane by the door because my knees would go out. I've got really bad knees. I couldn't walk a block. And so when I went to the doctor and said, you know, when is this going to feel better? What can I do to feel better? And he said, you know, you're over 50 and this is part of the aging process and you just need to get used to it.
Get used to living in a wheelchair? Is that what he was saying?
He didn't seem to have plans for me to get out of that wheelchair. And he didn't have any plans for me to feel better.
Wow. Did you get a different doctor?
I did.
Good. Then we're not naming names.
No.
So anyway, go ahead. So what happened then?
Well, I was teaching school at the time, and the kids were all taking this class on how to, it was a health class. How do you change your life? How do you make changes? And so I was just taking all the questions and answering all the questions myself. And one of the things it said was, what's your dream? And my dream was to feel better and to not be really, really fat, because I was obese, okay. We'll just say the word. I was really overweight. And I wanted to look better and I wanted to feel better. I didn't want to feel old. So, and it said, what's stopping you? And I thought, you know, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I've tried and tried. I've tried everything. I've tried dieting. I've tried exercise. Well, I tried taking a walk about once a year, but I hated it. And I'd get about a block and then I'd be exhausted. So I tried everything. I thought, you know what? I need a teacher. I went to school to learn how to sing. I went to school to learn how to drive. Everything that's been hard, I've gone to school for. So I need a teacher. So I found one.
So how did this happen? How did this?
She just walked into my studio one day, like most people do, and I'll have to say, maybe a little skeptical, you know, probably trying, you know.
You were.
Well, no, I wasn't. But like most people, you know, they come in, they're like, well, I'll give it a shot. You know, they're not really sure if this is going to be the thing that really makes the change for them this time. But, you know, we started working together, and, you know, my approach with people is to, you know, we don't sell supplements. We're not into gimmicks or anything like that at the studio. We just really try to get people to start focusing on primarily calories in versus calories out. So really start, you know, understanding how many calories they're probably expending throughout the day, you know, based on their activity level, you know, using a pedometer, exercise program, stuff like that. But then, of course, they have to have some way to monitor their calories in. So, you know, how they choose to eat is really up to them. You know, our main focus at the studio is try to create some type of caloric deficit so that they can start seeing weight loss and learn, you know, and learn a way that it can be sustainable. Because, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years and I've seen a lot of things, you know, over the years, and basically, you know, there's lots of ways to lose weight, but there's very few ways to keep it off. And it has to be a lifestyle change over time. And I think that's what Brenda was so excited about, why she wanted to write the book, was it was the first time she'd ever was able to actually consistently lose weight, and she's kept it off the whole time.
4
And it feels
years.
better, too.
4 years.
4 years.
So what was the primary change that you made? You started preparing your own food rather than doing fast food stuff? Is
Yeah.
that what you did?
That was huge.
Yeah.
Because so James did something called a body composition test to find out how much lean body mass I had. How many calories am I going to burn just doing a regular, for me, very sedentary day? Just how much am I expending? Because if you eat more than that, your body's going to store it. It's very good at taking care of you in case of times of famine. And boy, my body had done a great job of taking care of me in times of famine. I could have really rode out a long one
They had
never
the,
came.
if
had
the famine ever came.
the chicken little fat syndrome, you know, the sky's
Yeah,
falling.
The
and-
sky's
yeah.
falling, yeah. So he had, by the time he figured out how much fat, what the percentage of fat was on my body and what my lean body mass, 50% of me was fat, was 50% fat. Half!
Yeah,
Oh,
and
it's shocking.
that's one of the things when people lose weight. You know, their primary way of telling what's going on with their body is just focusing on the scale. The scale doesn't really tell you a whole lot, because if you went on some type of new fad diet or really low calorie diet or something like that, you could watch the scale drop, but is it muscle, water, fat? Who knows? I had a client came in one time and she went on one of the latest fad diets, and well, she came in and asked me about it. She said, well, what do you think? Should I go on this diet? And I said, well, I wasn't on board, and I told her why. I won't mention which one it was, but she went out, did it anyway, came back a couple weeks later, and she walks in my office and she goes, don't you tell me that this diet doesn't work? And I was like, why is that? She said, I lost 10 pounds this week. I said, wow, 10 pounds, that's pretty good, I guess. I said, 10 pounds of what? And she goes, well, what do you mean, 10 pounds of weight? I said, oh, okay. I said, so if you are doing everything correctly, you're lucky if you can lose 2 pounds of fat in a week. So if that's the case, let's give you that. What were the other 8 pounds? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, if it was only 2 pounds of fat, the other 8 pounds had to have been muscle and water. And the one thing you don't want to lose on a diet is your muscle, your lean body mass. Because for every pound of muscle that you lose, your resting metabolic rate, or your metabolism, goes down about 30 calories a day. So if she lost, 5, 6 pounds of lean body mass, she could be burning easily 200 calories less a day just by going on that diet. But unfortunately, most people just focus on the scale. They're happy when that scale drops, and
So that's why you focus on not just the cardio, which is the walking and whatever other cardiovascular exercises, but you talk about weight training,
Yeah,
the building of muscle, because the
Yeah.
muscle will continue to burn fat.
yeah.
And I think, fortunately these days, most people understand that, it used to be when I first started doing this that women didn't want to do weight training because I don't want to bulk up, I don't want to get huge muscles. Now we know, that's not going to happen. I mean, unless you purposely are training that way, which is very, very hard to do. But most women, if they start, training, they gain a few pounds of lean body mass. The only thing they're going to notice is they have tighter, tonered muscles, and their metabolism is going to be a little higher.
So what kind of weight training program did you start?
Well, at first I was not an exerciser, okay? Really not at all. And luckily James is a real diplomat, and he's very reassuring and very encouraging, and he got me on, it was 3 times a week I came in. I started out, and I was supposed to be getting knee surgery because my knees were so bad, and I was looking at medication for high blood pressure, and this is all pretty expensive. And I thought, if I didn't have to have knee surgery, and if I didn't have to be on the medication, I would save a lot of money. So I put the money I would have put into those things into getting a trainer, because I'm not going to go lift weights if I don't have some, well, I do now, but at the time I wasn't going to go if I didn't have someone showing me what to do. So 3 times a week I would go in, and James would have me doing a lot of upper body stuff, tricep pull downs and bicep curls and rowing, stuff I didn't even know what they were called. and stuff to make my legs stronger and my knees stronger. I don't need knee surgery now. My knees are, what'd you
Well,
say?
she just walked a marathon.
I just walked a marathon.
You know, her doctor was telling her that she might need a knee replacement.
Yeah.
And now, you know, years ago, and now she's walking marathons.
I just got back from New York where I walked 15 miles a day for fun, and my knees don't get tired. My knees never hurt. I just feel great. I walk all the time, walk up and down stairs, walk them down hills.
And so you lost, what was the grand total of weight that you lost?
I lost 60 pounds of fat,
and
and
then-
I put on 15 pounds of muscle.
Of muscle.
So my body composition changed from 50% fat to 27% fat, which is, I should be about 24% or less, but after you're in your 50s, it's a little harder to get that last couple of percentage points. I'm still working on those. But, you know, that's pretty good. 15 pounds of muscle, that's, if you multiply that by 30 calories, that's how many more calories I get to eat a day. My calorie window to start with was, based on the lean body mass, was 1,300 to 1,500 calories a day to lose weight.
Yeah, and that's what,
why I needed the muscle. So, because that's a little teeny window.
Yeah.
right, and that's what we focus on is, you know, at our studios, not just exercise, you know, but also first thing we do is get people to strap on a pedometer so they can start tracking their activity. And I always tell my clients, don't wear the pedometer when you exercise. Wear the pedometer when you're just being yourself. See if you can't get 10,000 steps a day, not including exercise. Throw in the exercise component. And then, of course, you know, my background, I have a degree in nutrition and dietetics, so I have to focus on the calories inside of it and get them to start, you know, figuring out a good menu plan that works for them. And once you put all those pieces of the puzzle together, it works.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Jody C. and this program is Backpage, and we're visiting with Brenda Stevens and James Dubberly about this book that they co-authored called The Real Skinny. Where can people pick this book up? Have you distributed it everywhere?
It is available on Amazon. It's available at my website, mysimplyhealthy.com, and it's available on James's website, wholebodyfitness.com.
It's actually wbfitness.com.
WB.
But the
I'm
name of the
sorry,
studio,
WB
the name of the
Fitness.
studio is Whole Body
Whole
Fitness.
Body Fitness.
In
Okay.
Portland.
Yeah.
So, talk about the calorie window.
Why
How do you
take that
determine
You
one?
take
what that
this
is?
one. You're the nutritionist.
So basically, you know, a lot of times when people go on diets, unfortunately, sometimes they eat too few calories. And their body can go into kind of a famine mode or starvation mode. And like I mentioned before, they can lose weight, but unfortunately some of it's muscle weight and just the things they don't want to do, and it messes up their metabolism. And we've all seen it. People lose weight sometimes and then they gain it back eventually when they go back to their normal eating habits and gain a little extra as a bonus. So the thing you want to make sure of is that you never drop below what you need to maintain your resting metabolic rate of your metabolism. So that's why we do a body composition test. We calculate how much lean body mass somebody has, and then I can calculate what their resting metabolic rate is. And like I think in your case it was like 1,100 calories a day or something like that. That's the minimum amount of energy her body needs just to maintain life support. So she would never ever want to eat less than what she needs to maintain life support. Then we factor in activity level and exercise. Then we get the top of the window. So once we know the bottom of the window and the top of the window, the total amount of calories she, you know, expends on average, just plug her in the middle. And then she just tries to create a caloric deficit each day.
So how do you figure out the body mass index? I mean, fat ratio. Do you dunk people in a pool and see?
Yeah,
what
unfortunately, we
floats?
don't have a pool at the studio, but
Okay.
but there are different methods. There's bioimpedance, there's hydrostatic weighing, like you mentioned. There's skinfold caliper. Typically, it depends on the person. If somebody's really overweight, I'll usually go bioimpedance with them. If they're not too bad, we'll do skinfold caliper.
You got to explain those.
Oh, okay. So bioimpedance, there's different methods for that as well, but it's basically it shoots a electrical signal through your body. And it kind of measures the resistance. So the more fat you have, the more resistant it is to the electricity. So it gives you an estimate of how much lean body mass to how much fat you have.
And that's called bioimpedance?
Bioimpedance. And there's some, you know, there's scales and handheld ones that you can buy at the store. And there's really super fancy ones too that you put electrodes on and you check your whole body. But typically we'll do skinfold caliper because it's pretty easy and it's really accurate for most people. And skinfold caliper is basically where you're taking a pinch on somebody, it's subcutaneous, so you're pinching the fat that's underneath the skin on top of the muscle. And you pinch in several places, and there's basically a calculation where you can figure out, based on their weight, how much of that is fat and how much of it's lean body mass.
I see. So, once you got started on your program, and you were a teacher, you were still a teacher at that point, right? So, what did you change?
I had to, when you're teaching, most people have full-time jobs, and they may have kids, they've got a yard, they've got, parents to take care of. Everyone's got a busy life. The first thing I really had to do was I had to carve out an hour a day. That's for me. Not too close to going to bed, but an hour a day where I could get whatever exercise I needed to do that day. Walk, get on elliptical, get my heart rate up, whatever. And that was a really hard thing for me because I think a lot of people, they're more used to taking care of other people than themselves.
Well, can I mention one? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I mention one thing? I think the thing that really made the biggest difference with you was her activity level. Using that pedometer made a big difference. And I'll never forget one time we'd been working together probably a couple years, I think, at this point, and she'd gotten down to really, really close to her ideal body fat percentage, and we did a body composition one time, and it kind of plateaued. And the next time, it kind of plateaued, and I'll never forget the third time she comes in. She's like, she's frustrated, and she goes, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what else I can do. She's like, I can't work out anymore. And I said, okay, that's fair. And she's like, and I'm not going to drop my calories anymore. And I said, I don't want you to. And I said, well, what about your pedometer? Are you still using that? She's like, well, I have kind of stopped using it. And I said, well, let's put the pedometer back on, start trying to get 10,000 steps a day. And she's like, okay. So sure enough, she put it on, and boom, 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 everything started happening again.
So did you ever find yourself about to go to bed and take your pedometer off, and it's only 8,900 calories? Whoa!
I walk around the living room until I get to 10,000.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was driving to here today and went, oh my gosh, I left my pedometer off. That's so ironic. But I wear it every single day, and I need to keep buying them because I'll talk to someone about the book, or they'll ask me how did I lose weight, and I'll tell them about the pedometer, and they'll say I don't know where to buy one, and I'll just take mine off and give it to them. So I'm constantly having to. But
you
they're $10.
You ought to develop your own pedometer.
No, there's good ones out there. I just need about a dozen.
But I mean, they have Brenda Stevens, the Real Skinny. I mean,
the logo.
Great marketing idea.
It would be a great idea.
The biggest changes I made were wearing the pedometer, learning about a heart monitor so that when I'm working out and getting my heart into its training range, I know if it's in the training range. They say you can take your own pulse, you can, how fast are you breathing, and can you speak or sing easily, if you can. No, I'm telling you, if you're on a cardiovascular machine and you can read a magazine, you're just not working hard enough, honey.
Yeah, there's no better tool for when you're doing actual cardio exercise to have a heart rate monitor, unless you're on some type of hypertensive medication that you can't use a heart rate monitor for. But if you're just a average healthy person, then you'll get so much more bang for your buck out of your exercise programs if you know what your heart rate is. For example, most of the time, I've worked in health clubs and things like that most of my adult life, and people, they join gyms all the time, and they have good intentions, and they say, New Year's resolution time, and they're going to lose weight for sure this time, and they come in, pay for the membership, get on a treadmill, walk for 20, 30 minutes, read a magazine, and most of the time they're only burning maybe 200 to 300 calories tops, right? And if they come in 2 or 3 times a week, that's like pretty good for most people. So we're looking at really mostly like 900 calories they're burning for the week. Now, if they want to burn fat, there's 3,500 calories stored in 1 pound of fat. That's going to take them at least a month to burn 1 pound of fat, working out 3 times a week, 30 minutes a shot. And most people, that's pretty unacceptable, I would think. And, not to mention that a lot of times when people work out, they're like, hey, I worked out today. I could have an extra helping of lasagna or a little treat or something like that. I deserve it. I earned it.
I was going to say 900 calories, that's a hamburger.
That's distressing, isn't it?
Isn't that sad?
I mean, really, when you think about it.
But so again, if you're going to do, especially if you're a woman of a certain age, you have got to make your metabolism work really well. So you need the muscle mass, you need to do the weight training, you need to do the cardiovascular training, you need to up your activity, because otherwise, if you don't do all those things and make your metabolism work as well as possible, you will feel like you shouldn't eat. And that's terrible. Eating's a fun thing to do.
Yeah,
You
and
should
you
be
know,
able to eat.
so many times I have people come in and they want to do nutrition counseling with me, and almost every time somebody sits down and starts talking to me, the first thing they tell me is, well, you know, I eat pretty healthy. And I'll have to just stop them right there and say,
No, you don't.
well, actually, I'll ask them this question. Can you eat healthy and still eat too many calories? Absolutely. You know, so health and calories are two different subjects. And I'll tell you, talking about what is healthy to one person, to another person, to another person is totally different. You could have a raw foods vegan sitting there, or a, you know, average American omnivore, or somebody on Atkins diet or something like that, and it all claim they're eating the healthiest diet out there. So talking about health and nutrition a lot of times is a lot like talking about religion or politics with people. It's better to focus more on just their caloric intake and understand where that's coming from. And then if they want to build a healthy diet around that, that's fine with me, because I have my own personal opinion about what's healthy to eat and so on.
So let me ask you a question. Well, first, an observation. One time I was babysitting this wonderful chocolate lab named Nestle. And every morning I would take her down the hill so she could crap in the tall grass, because that's what she liked to do. And then I'd take her across the street to the cemetery, take her off the leash and let her be a free roaming dog. And going back up the hill, the first day I was like, you know. Second day, same thing. Third day, boom, 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 right up the hill. And that was the first time I realized how quickly you can get it back. You know, I mean, things can go to pot pretty quickly, but you can get it back pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So here's my question. How do you keep a treadmill or stationary bike or an elliptical thing from being so boring?
I
What
got
can
the
you do?
perfect answer. Don't
Okay.
do it too long.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, you're going to get more bang for your buck out of your activity level than you will working out. Because I already mentioned, you know, if you're working out 3 times a week doing cardio, you're only netting maybe 900 calories for the week. It's just not a big calorie burner in the big scheme of things. If you're averaging 10,000 steps a day, the average person is going to burn at least 500 calories a day through just their walking. So 500 calories 7 times a week, right? That's a pound of fat. That's 3,500 calories. And that's easy to do. So calorically, if you want to burn more calories, get a pedometer, be more active, stuff like that. But you should exercise, and there's a reason why. If you had, if I had 2 people on treadmills, and I had one person who was actively training for a marathon, right? And the other person does no aerobic activity at all, we could have them both exercise for 30 minutes at the same speed, same incline, everything's the same. Stop the treadmills, and they both treadmills would display they burn 300 calories of energy, for example. But did one burn more body fat than the other? So we got an aerobic athlete and a kind of a couch potato. Which one do you think?
Well, I'm guessing the aerobic person.
Good, yeah.
You know?
Most people don't say that.
Well, just because of the conversation we've been having.
So-
And I'm guessing it's because this person already has the muscle.
Well, they have, you know, their aerobic system, the
Yeah.
mitochondria, their aerobic enzymes, their capillary density, their red blood cell count is much higher than the person who doesn't do aerobic activity. If you don't use it, you lose it. So the person who doesn't use it down-regulates all those things. So when they go to mobilize energy, right, for this exercise, most of it's probably coming from muscle sugar, muscle glycogen, and not from fat. Somebody who's aerobically trained is going to tap into their fat a lot sooner and more predominantly. So it is about calories in versus calories out, but a more aerobic person is going to be a much better fat burner.
And so the weight training that you talked about in the book, how often do you do that?
I
Do you
do
do that
that-
every day?
No, well, I don't, because as you get older, it takes longer for your muscles to repair. And repairing, muscles get stronger when they repair. You break them down when you do the weight training, and then they've got to have rest and recovery time to get stronger, and that's when they actually build. So the most I could do would be 3 times a week, because now that I'm over like 40, I'm guessing, I probably need 48 hours in between each session for them to rest and repair. My teenage son could probably do it every day, and he's going to repair just like that because he's younger. I get in, I do actual weight training probably twice a week. I try to do Mondays and Thursdays. And I do my cardiovascular training that keeps my metabolism working really well. maybe 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And it's not boring because I'm doing 20 minutes and I'm like running for, now I can run. I'll run for a minute, walk for a minute, run for a minute, walk for a minute. I have my iPod, and for one thing, you're concentrating. It's not boring because you're just concentrating on getting through the next minute when you get to walk for a minute and recover.
So, and that's, I think the key is to like look at the intensity level, not the duration. That's the biggest mistake I think people make when they do, you know, cardio aerobic activity, is they think they have to be on a treadmill for an hour. You don't. You can get a lot more bang for your buck out of 20 minutes of high intensity cardio, because remember, you want to do something that's going to increase your aerobic capacity. Doing the same old, you know, speed incline every time you work out, your body's just going to plateau there. You have to do something that's a little more intense, as long as you're healthy and you can handle it. And then your body adapts to that, and more intense, and adapts to that by becoming a better and better fat burner. And then with the weight training part of it, you know, that's something 2-3 times a week. You know, basically what you're doing when you do resistance training or weight training is you're literally doing microscopic tearing of muscle fibers, normal healthy stuff. And as they heal and repair, they get stronger, toner, fitter, and all the stuff that you want. So it's kind of a process of, you know, stress and recovery, stress and recovery.
So, if you're just tuning in, too bad for you, because you just have about missed the whole thing. We've been talking with Brenda Stevens and James Dubberly about their book, The Real Skinny. It's loaded with information, and Brenda, so this has been 4 years for you?
Yeah.
And so every day, every morning, do you exercise in the morning?
I get up at
before
6 in the morning, and my walking buddy shows up with her little yappy type dog on the front porch at 6, and my neighbors hate the yappy type dog, so I have to get out of the house right away. And we walk 4 miles, because then I know I'm going to get 10,000 steps. I'm going to have 10,000 steps by breakfast. And then the rest of the day, I walk after dinner, and so I usually get to about 20,000 now. But yeah, and then I eat my breakfast, which is usually oatmeal and a grapefruit and some black coffee, and I have my snack at 10, which is yogurt and a little fruit. Soup at lunchtime.
A lot different than your old
A
lifestyle.
lot, yeah, it's not sitting in the drive-thru waiting for them to hand me my hamburger.
Well, congratulations on this. This book is called The Real Skinny. We're going to have to wind it up. Thank you both for being here. And thank you for joining us. Please join us again as we take a peek at the back page. I'm Jody C. And remember, we're all in this together. More the same than different. Do your best. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you.